Artificial intelligence, it has this incredible power to reshape our entire world. We're talking everything from discovering new medicines to creating art that's just breathtaking. But like any powerful tool, it really needs an operating manual, a set of rules to make sure it's used for good. So in this explainer, we're going to explore how we can build a conscience for the machine. All right, so here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with what ethical AI even is, then we'll cover its core pillars of trust. After that, we'll see how generative AI is changing absolutely everything, explore the brand new risks it brings, and finally, figure out the path forward. Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. What exactly do we mean when we say ethical AI? This is really the bedrock, the foundation for all responsible technology. At its heart, ethical AI is all about using this tech in a way that's fair, transparent, and responsible. Think of it as a framework, one that's designed to squeeze out all the good AI can do while actively trying to prevent any harm. Okay, that's the big idea, but how do we actually do it? How do we put it into practice? Well, it all comes down to 5 fundamental pillars. You can think of these as the golden rules, the absolute non-negotiables for any AI system that wants to earn our trust. So these are the big 5: fairness, transparency, privacy, safety, and inclusivity. Together, they form the foundation of any AI you can actually trust. Let's break down each one and see why it's so critical. First up, fairness. And this one is a biggie. See, AI systems learn from data. And where does that data come from? Our world, which, let's be honest, has its fair share of biases. So if a hiring AI is trained on decades of data where mostly men got the top jobs, it might learn to unfairly penalize women applying for the same roles. The key here is to actively hunt for those biases and correct them to make sure everyone gets a fair shake. Next is transparency and explainability. Remember in school when your teacher would always say, "Show your work"? Well, that's exactly what this is for AI. If an AI turns you down for a loan, we need to know why. Was it your credit score, your income, something else? Without being able to see its work, we can't trust the decision, and we sure can't fix the system if it's messing up. Pillar 3. This one is all about your data. Ethical AI has this fundamental job to protect our personal info. That means only collecting what's absolutely necessary, using it respectfully, and locking it down with some serious security. It's all about making sure our digital lives don't come back to bite us. Fourth, we've got safety and reliability. An AI system, especially if it's, say, driving a car or managing a power grid, has to work the way it's supposed to, every single time. That means building it to be tough, to stand up against cyber attacks, and to fail gracefully if it runs into something totally unexpected. There's just no room for error. And that brings us to our 5th and final pillar: inclusivity. Technology is supposed to be a bridge, right? Not another wall. If a voice assistant works perfectly for one accent but completely fails for another, it's not inclusive. It's that simple. Ethical AI has to be designed from the very beginning to serve everybody, from all backgrounds and abilities, so that it's closing the gaps in our society, not making them even wider. Okay, so those 5 pillars give us a really solid framework, but a new player has just walked onto the field and is basically rewriting the entire rulebook. Let's talk about the real game changer, generative AI. So what's the big deal here? What makes generative AI so different? Well, think of it like this. Traditional AI is kind of like a detective. It looks at existing data, finds patterns, makes predictions. But generative AI, it's an artist. It doesn't just analyze the world, it actually adds to it, creating brand new text, images, and audio from scratch. And honestly, the promise here is just mind-blowing. We're talking about tools that could speed up the discovery of new medicines, make cancer diagnostics way more accurate, and produce incredible art in the blink of an eye. The potential for good is immense. But, you knew there was a but, right? With all that power comes a whole new world of challenges. And yeah, that brings us right to this new ethical minefield. Because that same power to create, well, it's also a power to deceive, to disrupt, and to cause some serious harm on a massive scale. The stakes have never, ever been higher. So it really forces us to ask a super important question. In this new world where the rules are still being written, what are the biggest risks we're actually facing? Well, for starters, you've got this huge threat to ownership and privacy. A generative AI can be taught to perfectly mimic a copyrighted piece of art, or just plagiarize entire articles. It can even, sometimes by accident, spit out private data that it was trained on. This opens up a huge can of worms for things like forgery, fraud, and intellectual property. And that threat kind of snowballs into something even bigger for society as a whole, the ability to spread harmful content like wildfire. I mean, just think about it. You can now fabricate evidence and spread misinformation faster than ever before, automatically generate thousands of fake reviews to sway public opinion, or even create fake images to harass people. And maybe the most chilling example of this whole thing is deepfake technology. It lets you create these scarily realistic videos that can make it look like someone said or did something they absolutely never did. The potential for evil here is just staggering. It threatens everything from a person's reputation all the way up to political stability. Okay, so we're facing this minefield. What do we do? How do we move forward? It's turned into a genuine race. A race between how fast this technology is evolving and how fast we can create some smart, sensible guardrails for it. It all boils down to this one central tension, right? On one hand, you have this unbelievable potential to solve some of our biggest problems. And on the other, you have these huge, very real risks to our society. Figuring out how to balance those two, that's the great challenge of our time. So whose job is it to navigate this? Well, it can't just be one group. It's gotta be a team effort. Governments need to step up and create clear rules. Companies, they have a major responsibility to build their own ethical policies, to protect us, their customers, and a lot of them are already starting to do that. And for the rest of us, our job is to stay informed and to demand that these systems are built responsibly. And all of this leaves us with one last, really important thought to chew on. The AI is learning every single second. It's adapting, it's growing more powerful. But the real question is, who's teaching it to be good? The answer, when you get right down to it, is all of us.